Welcome everyone to another episode of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. I am your host, Javon Harrington, back to hit you with another video. And today we are going to be doing What If Naruto Was in High School DxD, the movie, Sins of the Past, Part 3, the finale. This is a personal project that I've been working on for a while now. This was a 3-part movie-like event where I would combine the lore of Naruto and High School DxD into a movie form. This movie, officially, it takes place after the events of Season 4 and right before the events of Season 5, if you're keeping up with Naruto and with High School DxD in general. I do want to say, first and foremost, thank you to everyone who has supported Power Core Productions and Podcastings as we have hit 800 subscribers. I am truly grateful as we are on the road to 1K and beyond. So our next goal is 900 and I'm looking forward to that. The channel is growing more and more every day thanks to you guys. So it truly means a lot to me to have your overall support. Now, when it comes to this movie, whether or not you want it to be canon, that is entirely up to you. I know some people will like it, some people won't. I know some people will talk about the power scaling and the things of that nature, and while I tried to do my very best, I've had to rewrite this script multiple times because I wanted to try to create a cohesive story that I thought could be enjoyable. Ultimately, you can't please everyone, but you do what you can with what you got. Now, whether or not you want this to be canon to the overall series, that's up to you guys. So if you want it to be canon, then the movie will be canon when we do a What If Naruto Was in High School DxD Season 5. Whenever Season 5 of High School DxD comes out, then that's when I'll start scripting Naruto High School DxD Season 5. And if you guys don't want the movie to be canon, then this will just be something that stands alone on its own. I'm not going to erase it or anything like that. So it'll stay on the channel. So it's basically just a matter for you guys. If you like it, if you want me to keep it on there, then I will. And if you don't, then it just won't be canon. It'll just be its own little thing. But all in all, I do want to thank everyone for your support with Power Core Productions and Podcastings. Truly means a lot. Like I say, you make the channel grow, you make the core grow, and I just appreciate all the support. And everything you do really makes me happy to do what I do for this channel. It means a lot. And I hope you look forward to all of the more storytelling that we have to come out now and in the future. But anyway, we're going to get straight into today's video and the conclusion of What If Naruto Was in High School DxD, the movie. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The air would be quiet as Naruto and Vali would be standing together, the red and white dragon emperors, preparing to face off against the armada that was the Akatsuki. Sasuke had long since trained for the day where he would seek his vengeance against the Leaf for everything that it had done to the Uchiha. And in his vengeance, he would slay the Nine Tails. As Sasuke's aura would begin to power up, a purple-like skeleton beginning to form around him, until eventually he had created his own Susanoo. Vali and Naruto would also power up in their own states as well, Naruto entering into KCM2 as the golden gauntlet was on his hand, taking its shape in the gemstone, from that of the pawn to that of the queen. Kurama and Drake would be synced as well, boosting their power to the max. Vali's own Sharingan would be activated as well, as he would enter into his white dragon armor. The army behind Sasuke could feel the immense power coming from the three beings, what remained of the Akatsuki, along with that of the Mist army that had been assembled. Naruto and Sasuke would begin their exchange, the two trading blows seamlessly as their battle would begin. It would feel as though it were a twist of fate in a way, as if no matter what the universe, or what the era, Naruto and Sasuke were always destined to battle one another. However, this fight would not be a fight of friendship. This was not the fight of one trying to save the other. Quite the contrary. There was no bond between Naruto and Sasuke in this fight. There was no one to save, no one to bring home. The only thing that mattered was defeating the opponent, and they planned to hold nothing back. Sasuke being methodical with the Sharingan in his movements, his Susanoo slicing at Naruto, as Naruto would create the Kurama avatar that would be shrouded in red ethereal armor. This being Kurama Dragon Armor mode. As the two beings would engage in combat, Vali would turn his attention over to the Akatsuki and their armies. While the Akatsuki were strong and quite formidable, their power paled in comparison to that of the White Dragon Emperor. Hidan would quickly be taken out, Kakazu using his extra hearts to try to gain the upper hand. However, Vali was methodical with the Sharingan, using them to gain a greater insight. He would fly around the battlefield aimlessly, moving majestically as the wind itself. The blood of the Uchiha and the blood of the devil coursing through his veins. Kisame would also attempt to attack at Vali, but it would be futile, as Divine Dividing would divide their own powers in half, proving and making them to be rather useless. The Mist Army would also begin their assault, however Vali would effortlessly fight them off. Not too long after, as the battles would continue, soon reinforcements would arrive to the battlefield. Jiraiya leading the charge with what remained of the Hidden Leaf's strong forces. Rias, as well as her own parish, also arriving as well to aid Naruto in the conflict. In Rias' own heart, she had been worried for Naruto this whole time. Worried that maybe things may have come to pass the way Naruto had feared. This was something that Naruto also envisioned himself, as Naruto had had the dream of many of times of laying in a desolate village, with all of his friends and loved ones killed before his eyes. However, he would have to push those thoughts out of his mind, as now was not the time to dwell on such things. For Naruto, there was no losing. The only option was to win. Sasuke would prove to be a formidable opponent to Naruto, as the two would continue their battle. Kurama slowly gaining the advantage as the boosted gear would continue to double his power. While Sasuke was strong in his own right, and had been trained from a young age to be one of the most lethal killers in the world, ultimately, his power was not like that of the boosted gear, one of the 13 Longinus, a power that could rival that of God and the Devil Kings themselves, and he was seeing it firsthand. As Naruto was gaining the upper hand more and more throughout the fight, Sasuke's attempts would become more desperate, using every trick in his arsenal to gain the upper hand on Naruto. However, ultimately Naruto would prevail, forcing Sasuke back and into a defensive. As the Hidden Leaf would then engage with the Mist Shinobi, as the scene of the final battle would take place, Jiraiya alongside with Kakashi and Yamato, as well as the other members of the Hidden Leaf village. Zenobia and Kiba would enter into the fray as well, with their respective swords as they went to aid in the fight, as the two would come face to face with two more swordsmen, that being Kisame and Suigetsu. A battle of 4 of some of the most legendary blades in history. Samehada, the Executioner's Blade, the Holy Devil Sword, and Ex Durandal. The 4 swordsmen will clash in a 2v2. Kiba and his Holy Devil Sword, proving to be more than effective against the Executioner's Blade, forcing it back and cutting it to pieces. Suigetsu would attempt to gain the upper hand on Kiba, but Kiba's speed with the power of the night would be too much for Suigetsu to overcome, and ultimately it would result in his downfall. Kisame would prove to be the most difficult, even for Zenobia. His raw strength and power was not something that could easily be overcame, as he himself were known as the tailless-tailed beast. However, once Kiba and Zenobia combined their strengths, using the powers of the night respectively, Kisame would find himself at the other end of the blade. And with that, 2 of the swordsmen of the mist would be defeated. Koneko would be leading the front lines as well, powered up in her level 2 Sage mode. She would be able to take out enemies effortlessly all around the battlefield, moving as nimbly and as quick as the cat that she portrayed herself to be. With Arias and Akano using their respective magics to fight from a distance, as torrents of crimson and yellow lightning would rain upon the sky. For the Mist Ninja that preferred to use water style, this would ultimately prove to be their downfall. As the Leaf would take the advantage in the war, it seemed as though they had finally gained the upper hand, and that the Akatsuki would be done away with once and for all. However, before they would have time to revel in their victory, the ground itself would begin to shake and move, as the ghetto statue itself had now been summoned to the earth. Standing atop of it was a man in a white mask, his eyes emblazoned with one Sharingan and one Rinnegan. Accompanying him was another man as well, shrouded in red armor, with long dark hair, and his eyes also with one Sharingan and one Rinnegan. They would look on in horror, as what they saw could not be mistaken. Next to the masked man was none other than the revived Madara Uchiha. Madara had been brought back by Obito. With their plans now soon complete and the world virtually on the verge of destruction, it was easy to find the location of Nagato and Konan. After having Konan killed, Nagato would be placed under a genjutsu, forced to use Rinne Rebirth to bring Madara back to life at the cost of his own. Obito and Madara would now arrive to the battlefield, Madara being debriefed on everything that had happened up until now, noting that this was the first time that the Nine Tails had appeared on Earth within 17 years. Madara would be pleased, now knowing that his plans for the infinite Tsukuyomi would be close at hand. All that he would have to do was capture the Nine Tails. As the two rode atop of the ghetto statue, as it began to make its way closer, Vali and Naruto would stand side by side once again. Vali asking Naruto what he planned to do in this situation, and Naruto knowing that their only chance was to defeat the two atop the statue. Sasuke would slowly awaken as he would call out to his master, to ask what was going on. However, Obito would calmly tell Sasuke that his purpose had been fulfilled, and that now all they needed to do was capture the Nine Tails. Sasuke would persist and ask what was the true meaning behind it all, as Obito would sadly reveal the true extent of their plans. Sasuke would be shocked at the revelation of learning that he had been used, that Obito was also responsible for what befell the Uchiha clan, and that all this time he were just merely a pawn, a means to an end in order to revive Madara Uchiha. In the midst of great odds, the remaining shinobi would have to pull together, now seeing that they had an even greater enemy among them. What remained left of the mist and of the leaf, along with their other forces, they knew that they had to make a stand, an attempt against such a great foe. Naruto and Vali would stand before the great statue. As Madara looked down upon them, he would first look to Naruto, as he would question if he were the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and Naruto would respond in kind. Naruto would stand proudly as he would look to Madara, and he would tell him that his time would come to an end, that he was going to restore peace to the shinobi world. Madara would simply laugh at these notions, but he would agree that peace would return, and it would return with his death. Madara would jump down from the statue to engage with Naruto in combat. However, this would not go the way Madara thought. This was not any old Naruto. This was a Naruto who was blessed with power that was beyond anything that Madara could ever understand. As Madara and Naruto engaged in combat, the two of them swapping hands on the battlefield. As the two would continue to fight, Madara couldn't help but feel as if with every blow, he were fighting with Hashirama. A wave of nostalgia coming over him once again, feeling something that he hadn't felt in such a long time. A true sense of joy. As Naruto continued to fight with Madara, Madara would try and use various tools to its advantage. He would create a few of his own wood clones that would also create their own Susanoo. However, Naruto would create his remaining clones who would also create their own chakra-clad avatars. The Kuramas in the armor of the dragon. As the front lines became a battlefield for larger-than-life beasts, Madaras with their Susanoos, Narutos with their Kuramas in dragon armor, battling all across the lands, the earth being rocked by the mighty blows, the sky echoing with the sounds of the Biju bombs being blasted in every direction. The remaining forces would be told to retreat to the farther outskirts of the Land of Fire, as they knew now that Naruto and Vali would be the only ones capable of bringing victory. As Naruto would fight with Madara, Vali would enter into his battle with Obito. Obito believing that Vali were an impure Uchiha, and that he would fall just the same. However, Vali with his divine dividing proved to be something that Obito was not expecting. As the two would fight, Vali would use his Kamui, attempting to suck up Vali into the void. However, this would prove to be unsuccessful, as with each attempt of Kamui, Vali would use his Sharingan, amplified via the divine dividing the power of the Kamui, making it less and less effective. Obito was unsure of what were going on here, as the same was for Madara. the two not knowing who on earth they were fighting. These were no ordinary shinobi, or ordinary beings for that matter. It felt as though they were battling with gods, and unknown to them, they were. Naruto and Vali would pour more and more of themselves into their sacred gears. Vali using the power of the divine dividing, to cut in half the power of all of his foes around him. Madara could feel slowly that even some of his own chakra were draining, as Naruto's power would just continue to rise, more and more with every boost. Dragon Kurama would warn Naruto that he would soon hit his limit, and that when he did so, he would go into his overbooster. If he were going to win, he would need to finish the fight now. Naruto would understand this, and would aim for the real Madara Uchiha. As the two would continue the fight, Madara would praise Naruto for his advances, noting that he reminded him of one of his former foes from long ago, referring that his power rivaled that of Hashirama, and that it may even surpass the god of shinobi. Rias would be with Jiraiya and the others, as they had safely moved to a greater distance to be away from the final battle. Kakashi and Yamato were preparing to go and try to aid Naruto as best they could. While Jiraiya was against it, he knew that they would need the support and they would soon be on their way. Rias wanted to go and join Naruto as soon as possible. She had made a promise that she would bring Naruto home. She didn't want to lose him. However, Kiba and the others would try to hold her back, telling her that right now Naruto was in a fight for his life, and that her being there might just get in the way of it all. However, Rias would not listen to reason, as she would instantly fly into the air, flying off to be by Naruto's side, the others not knowing what to do. Hinata would ask why it was that she were fighting so hard to be with Naruto. Hinata would ask what it was about Naruto that made him so special. They would try to explain to her everything that Naruto had been through, everything that Naruto had gone through in his life up until this point, the challenges that he had been through, everything that he had had to fight in order to get to the point where he was today. Naruto was the kind of person that never gave up. He never backed down and he never surrendered. If that were truly the way of the shinobi, Naruto embodied it in every way, shape, and form. And he truly carried on the will of fire, even if he were sent to another world. Hinata would instantly rush to the battlefield as well, wanting to help in any way that she could. She was indebted to Naruto for saving her life. This would start a trickle effect as soon one after another, a few more of shinobi would attempt to rush to Naruto's aid. While Jiraiya thought that it would be wise for them to stay back and not get involved, he knew now that if they were going to do anything, then they were going to have to aid in the final war, as everyone would then go to aid in any way that they could. Naruto would be hitting the upper limits of his power against Madara, as the fight were entering into its climax state. Drag would warn Naruto that he were reaching his overbooster limit, and that soon they would have to start the cycle over again, and that he would only have the power of the Nine Tails to aid him. Naruto would be worried, but he would think that it would be enough. As he and Madara continued to fight, Naruto feeling that he were about to reach the peak of his power, a power that would only last but for a few moments. As Naruto was reaching the peak and the pinnacle, he would soon find that he had the power that could even surpass Madara. Madara would now be worried for a moment. while his face did not show it on the outside. On the inside, he was slightly starting to tremble. With every blow that Naruto landed on him, he felt Naruto getting stronger. It truly did feel as if he were fighting a god himself. As Naruto had reached the upper limits, he attempted to finish off Madara once and for all. Creating a wind Rasen Shuriken, he would blitz Madara, going for a close quarters attack. As he aimed it directly at him, Madara would take some of the blow, but use his Rinnegan ability to absorb whatever of the ninjutsu that he could, doing so with just a little time to spare. Meanwhile, volley was getting the better of Obito. However, it had reached an impasse as Obito still could not land an attack on volley, but volley could not land an attack on Obito, as all of his attacks seemingly phased through. As the other shinobi would arrive to the battlefield, Kakashi would go to aid volley along with Yamato, while Guy, leading with some of the others, would go and aid Naruto as well. As Naruto had put everything he had into his attack against Madara, his gauntlet would hit the overbooster, as it would lose its glow and begin the recharge, Naruto falling to the ground once again. Madara would smile triumphantly, feeling as though he had now seen the upper limits of Naruto's power. Now seeing that Naruto was running low, he knew it would be easy to seal away the Nine Tails. However, before he could go to grab Naruto and prepare the sealing, he would be blasted away by a combined force of red and yellow lightning. Rias and Akeno standing by Naruto's side, Rias delving into her power of destruction. As Madara would get back up on his feet, he would ask if they planned to oppose him, to which all of Naruto's friends would stand at the ready. Naruto would try to tell them to not do so, noting that it was too dangerous. However, Rias would look back to Naruto, telling him that he didn't need to worry because he was not alone. They would all go to charge at Madara, but it would prove to be absolutely useless. Madara would easily kick away Rias and Akeno. Koneko would try to go into taijutsu with Madara, but she would easily be slammed to the ground. Zenobia and Kiba would try to slice at Madara, both of them moving at pinpoint speed, but Madara was just faster, catching their swords as he flung them back away. Ultimately, no one could stand against him, as Madara ran through the shinobi's remaining forces, beating them effortlessly into the ground. Among them would be Hinata. Hinata would charge, her Byakugan fully at the ready, as she would use the Twin Lion's fist. She and Madara would then begin their own flurry of taijutsu. It was no doubt to anyone that among the remaining Hyuga of the Leaf, Hinata was the strongest user of the Byakugan, Madara even praising her for her skills. As the two would begin their battle, Madara feeling the intensity and the ferocity in every one of Hinata's punches. Hinata moving at top speed, giving it everything that she had in the battle. Hinata would move until the very point where she could land just one hit. However, just as it seemed that she were going to do so, she thought that she had actually managed to gain one blow on Madara. A single punch to the face. However, this would be a miscalculation, as the moment her fist connected, she could feel a faint pain in her chest. Madara had stabbed her in the heart with one of his chakra rods. He would praise her for her intensity with the Byakugan, but in the end, it was inferior to his Sharingan, and that she had merely opened herself up, and that was her fatal flaw. As he kicked her across the battlefield, Neji would run to her side. Checking on her, he could see that she was losing a lot of blood. Naruto could see what was happening. As he slowly looked around, he saw all of the death, all of the destruction. It was so much to take in. His home, his once beautiful home, had been brought to ruin. He would begin to yell to the top of his lungs, yelling to the sky and to the heavens themselves. As he did so, his mind would drift into that of a dream. And there, standing in front of him, would be none other than Rainier. My, Naruto. It seems as though what I told you would happen has now come to pass. Your home, it now lies in flame and ruin. Shut up, Rainier. I don't feel like it. Oh, don't get mad at me, Naruto. You have brought this upon yourself. So tell me, when are you going to stop holding back? What? You heard me. When are you going to stop holding back? Are you not the mighty Naruto Uzumaki Hyodo? Are you not the Red Dragon Emperor, Jinchuriki, of the most powerful tailed beast that ever lived? What's your point? My point? My point is that you can feel sorry for yourself. That's all well and good. And you can end up being the loser that I always thought you were. Or you can prove me wrong. Of course, it makes no difference to me what you choose to do, for I am already dead. And if you continue to sit there, you'll be able to join me. Rainier would disappear from Naruto, and Naruto could feel a swelling in power. As Rias and the others would be slow to get up, Naruto would help them, moving them quickly to safety. As Rias asked Naruto what he planned on doing, Naruto told her quite simply, he planned on winning this fight. Before leaving, he would give her a kiss, and he would tell her that when this was over, they were going to go back home together. With that, Naruto would fly off, as Madara would be waiting for him, asking if he were ready for round 2. In the meantime, Vali and Obito would be entering the climax of their battle. As Kakashi and Yamato had come to his side, they would ask if there were anything that they could do against him. Vali explaining that whatever his Sharingan abilities were, it most likely allowed him to phase through objects. Kakashi would ask if this were the real Madara Uchiha. However, Vali would explain that Naruto were fighting the real Madara. Kakashi would try to figure who this mysterious Uchiha could be. However, as he saw which eye had the Sharingan, he would start to wonder himself, coming to the same conclusions that he had once before. Timing his attacks with Vali, the two would eventually be able to break the mask, as it would be revealed that it were none other than Obito Uchiha. As Obito's identity had been revealed, he would remark that while he saw Kakashi now, it were but merely an illusion, but that soon he would live in a world where only the real Obito and where only the real Kakashi and Ren could exist, a world diluted of winners and losers. Kakashi would try to talk sense into Obito, but it would be pointless. Obito was too far gone, and Kakashi knew it. Yamato would tell Kakashi that while he didn't want to believe it were true either, this was their reality. And now they had to either fight or die. Kakashi would echo those sentiments, as Valley would tell them that he could devise a plan if he and Kakashi's Kamuis were connected. With that, Valley would quickly pick up Kakashi and throw him straight towards Obito. Obito sending him to his own Kamui dimension. As he did so, Obito would soon find the fatal flaw in his plan. As Valley entered into his Juggernaut drive, preparing to launch a full-scale attack, Obito would quickly send himself to the Kamui dimension. However, as he did so, he would be greeted by a surprise, as on the other side would be Kakashi. Kakashi would deliver punches left and right to Obito on one end, and whenever Obito tried to get to the other, he would be met by Valley. Valley's powers with Divine Dividing, cutting his chakra in half with every attack itself. He soon felt that he were running low on chakra, and if he continued this game, it would result in his end. Using what little strength he had left, he would send Kakashi back out, trying to regroup and regain himself. However, before he could do so, Valley would gain the upper hand. With Obito now weakened, before he could have a chance to make another attempt at escape, Valley would send an attack towards his eye, aiming it straight towards the Sharingan. He would blast straight towards it, hitting him square in the eye, taking out his Sharingan completely, not allowing him to escape. In the midst of his pain, Yamato, now enhanced with his own Sage Mode, would bind him in his wood style, not allowing him to flee. With a heavy heart, Kakashi would deal the finishing blow, with a Raikiri to the heart, as Obito would look upon Kakashi, and Kakashi would look upon Obito for what would be the final time. Kakashi would try to tell him that he was sorry, that he wished that things could have been different. However, Obito would simply spit at him, those being his last remarks, as he too faded away. In the meantime, Hinata would be losing blood quickly, and there was no one with enough medical ninjutsu to save her. Neji would ask if there was anything that anyone could do. Rias would think to herself that she could potentially save her life, but if she did, things would never be the same. Neji would beg her to do so, do it at any cost. However, Rias would warn him that if she saved her life, she would never be able to stay in this world anymore. Neji would agree to that, knowing that he wanted to save her more than anything. With that, Rias would take the single pawn that she had in her possession, the pawn that Naruto had lost. Using the pawn, she would use it to convert Hinata into a devil, restoring new life into the Hyuga once again, as she would now be reborn as a devil and pawn in the service to the House of Gremory. Naruto would be making his way forward, as he and Madara would be standing eye to eye once again. Naruto's boosted gear had been restored, and was now beginning to grow in power. Madara would ask if this were going to be his final stand, and Naruto would indeed comply that it would be. This was going to be where all of the conflict would come to an end, once and for all. Madara would laugh at such notions, thinking that Naruto were rather foolish. But Naruto could only shake off such sentiment, knowing that either way, one was going to walk away the victor. With that, Madara and Naruto would engage in what could only be known as a dance of violence. Everyone would watch on as Naruto, shining as the ultimate light, would battle away with Madara, whose heart was shrouded in the darkness. As the two would collide, their fists could be felt all throughout the multiverse, throughout the sands of time. Every generation, every incarnation, the cycle of death and rebirth that had been spun over and over again. It had all come to this moment. From another plane, the Sage of Six Paths watched on, as the former reincarnate of Indra and the current of Ashura engaged in what would be the final battle. The sage can only look on, hoping that what he had put into motion years ago would lead to a brighter future. Every path could not be saved, but maybe a new path could be opened. If one could not find what they were looking for, then perhaps they needed to look in a different place. If one dream could not become reality, then maybe it was time to dream a different dream. As Naruto and Madara would fight, it would not only be a clash of fists, it would be a clash of will, of ideology, of belief. For Naruto, he truly believed in his comrades. He believed in moving forward. He never believed in staying in the past or sitting still in one spot for too long. That wasn't the life that he wanted to live. That wasn't what he lived for. His life, his purpose, his meaning, his drive, it was all for living for the future. Naruto was fighting for the future of everyone, for the future of two worlds. He wanted to restore peace to the shinobi world more than anything. And he wanted to bring closure to those suffering. He wanted to be the light in a world of darkness. And he would be that beacon of hope. However, Madara had lost his way long ago. While Madara believed similarly in a world of peace, his peace could only be achieved through that of violence and hatred. His peace was only obtainable at the suffering of others, and that in Naruto's mind was not true peace. As the two would fight over and over, Naruto's power continuing to rise once again. Madara would try to question Naruto's will. He would ask if his way were not the right way of peace, then what could Naruto possibly do? He sold his soul. He became a devil. He became the host to an eternal dragon. What would Naruto know about peace? What could Naruto possibly do? However, Naruto would be steadfast in his convictions, as he and Madara would be entering into the climax of their fight. The boosted gear, blasting Naruto's power into another realm entirely. Madara could feel that he was slipping away. He would attempt to create the Susanoo, but Naruto would punch through it again and again. He would even try to use planet devastation, creating a large meteorite that would seemingly crush Naruto once and for all. However, Naruto would be able to smash through it with ease. Madara would try to throw everything that he had at Naruto, even to the point of using the Ghetto statue, using all power that he had obtained from the other eight-tailed beast. He would attempt to crush Naruto once and for all. But Naruto would continue to persevere. Madara would now be afraid. This power that never seemed to stop, a power that just continued to rise again and again. Just what was Naruto possibly? Who could have such power? However, Naruto would continue to channel everything into his attacks, focusing all of his frustrations onto Madara, before finally he would leave Madara with these parting words. I, who stole the principle of domination from God, I grieve over the infinite, and I fret over the dream. I who shall awaken, I who am one with all things, I burn bright. I use my light of hope to shine upon all evil in the world. I am the one who will surpass God and the devil kings themselves. Burn in my crimson purgatory. Juggernaut drive. As Kurama would switch and begin to morph into that of the red dragon itself, he would fire his last attack towards Madara. Madara would use whatever he could to block it away, but it would prove to be useless, as Madara would be swallowed in the combined attack of the Nine Tails and the Red Dragon. He would soon fade into the nothing, as he would be erased from existence. Naruto would soon fall back to the ground, completely exhausted, all of his power entirely drained. Drag and Kurama would return to rest, as they had given everything they had to Naruto to allow him to defeat Madara once and for all. Everyone would rush to Naruto's side to see if he were okay, but Naruto would only be half awake, slipping in and out of consciousness. The last thing he could remember was seeing Rias by his side, as his eyes would soon close and he would fade to sleep. It would be a while, but Naruto would soon awaken in a local hospital. Surprisingly enough, the world was slowly building itself back together once again. With the threat of Madara Uchiha and the Akatsuki done away with, rescue teams were sent to any of the remaining villages. Thankfully, not all of the people had died in the stone and in the cloud and in the sand, but they were still reeling with their own losses. They would personally be escorted to the land of fire, where all peoples of all nations would gather once again. Jiraiya would stand among the crowds, as he would tell them that from everything that they had been through, the day of fighting as separate nations had come to an end. If they were truly going to rebuild their world, then they were going to have to act as one. There were no longer leaf or sand or stone or cloud or mist. This division that they had been living with for over centuries is what was dividing them all. But if they joined together, if they fought as one, then maybe that could lead to the true answer of peace. From today, they were now but one nation. They were simply shinobi. The people would cheer at these words, believing in the idea of fighting together instead of fighting apart. And settlements would be made in the Hidden Leaf and all around the Land of Fire. It would take some time, but through hard work and through perseverance, they could rebuild and they could grow once again. As Naruto would be slow to get back on his feet, he would be reunited with all of his friends and loved ones, everyone checking to make sure that Naruto were okay. Unknown to him, Rias was sleeping quietly in the corner. Akano would remark that Rias had spent all of her time using every bit of her power that she had within her to heal Naruto. Naruto would be thankful for this, as he would kiss her on the forehead. As the rebuilding would be underway, and Naruto would be bandaged up, he would soon have to begin with parting and making way to go back home. Jiraiya had asked Naruto many of times if he wanted to stay. After all, he would be more than welcome to. And for a while, Naruto had thought about doing just that. But ultimately, he had made his home in another world, and he had an obligation to it. However, before leaving, he would leave Jiraiya with his own flying Raijin kunai, telling him to keep it somewhere safe, and that if he were ever needed, he would always be around. Before leaving, Naruto would speak to Kakashi as well. Kakashi would be in a bit of a more saddened state. But however, his spirits would be uplifted though, knowing that the son of his sensei was alive and well was more than enough for him, and he were proud of the shinobi that he had become. Naruto would thank Kakashi for bringing him back, and that he were grateful to have met him. Hinata would also be coming to grips with her new situation as well. To save her life, she had to be made a devil, and as such, she would be leaving to go to the world that Naruto had been sent to. Her friends would be tearful at her goodbye, and she would even feel a bit resentful, believing that it would have been better to die than to have to be sent somewhere else. But Neji would be a bit more stern with her now. He would tell her that she had spent all of her life fighting, but that now she had a chance to start over, to start anew. He would tell her to give it a chance, and that if anything, they had a way to see each other through Naruto. Hinata would say her tearful goodbye to all of her friends as she prepared to leave with Rias and the others. As Naruto stood at the gates of the Hidden Leaf Village, everyone wanting to see him off, he would wave to the crowd and to all the people that he had managed to meet, and he hoped that he could see them again someday. As everyone would be holding hands together, Naruto would focus on the flying Raijin that had been left behind in the world of DxD, as they would all teleport away and they would arrive back home. They would arrive in the center of the Occult Research Club. The others had been waiting for a few hours, Naruto being surprised that only a few hours had passed when he could have sworn that they had been gone for much longer. However, Azazel would deduce that it was probably due to time-space, and that time that moved in their world was probably a lot slower than what moved in the world that Naruto had come from. But in either case, he would be happy to see that Naruto had returned and was doing well. Asio would quickly rush to Naruto's side as she would hug him close, happy to see that he was safe and back home. Naruto hugging her back as Irina would want to hug as well. Gasper would be happy to see that Naruto had made it back home safely, and Rosavisa would be pleased as well. As Vali were preparing to leave, Azazel would thank him for his assistance. However, Vali would say that he didn't do it for his own sake, but that he had an interesting journey to say the least, and he learned some things that could be rather useful. With that, Vali would disappear into a magical circle and would leave back to the Chaos Brigade. Hinata would be the only new face in the crowd, as the others who had not known of her would all come to ask who she was and where she had come from. Rias would explain that things had happened, and that Naruto were no longer an 8-piece pawn, but 7. After losing one of her pawns, due to some circumstances, she had gained a new one, and she introduced Hinata Hyuga to the Occult Research Club. Hinata would soon move into the home with Naruto and many of the other girls also. She would be a bit quiet and reserved for the first few days, trying to be acclimated and readjust to her new life and surroundings. The other girls weren't quite sure what to do for her. After all, this world was entirely different from the one she had come from. They weren't sure how they could make her comfortable, or how she would be able to adjust. However, Naruto would take the reins in this situation. And one night, while she were practicing in one of the dojos on the lower floor, Naruto would meet with her. The two wouldn't really say much, but Naruto would offer to spar with her for a bit, as he had never fought someone with the Byakugan, and he wanted to see what she were capable of. It would be an awkward silence. No words would be exchanged. It would just be their fists that would connect with one another. Naruto getting a chance to see the gentle fist style up close and personal, and Hinata getting to see what Naruto had been able to learn while he was gone for all of these years. Soon, they became more comfortable with one another, as they continued to spar until eventually they grew tired. Hinata felt a bit relieved, knowing that there was someone here who shared the same traditions as her, who knew of her culture and her ways. It would take a lot of getting used to, but in the end, it was something that she thought she could adjust to well, as she would become more acclimated with her life as a devil. Meanwhile, in the void, Volley would have in his possession a tiny shuriken. As he threw the shuriken into the air, it would transform into Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke knew that he didn't have a place in this old world, and he decided if there were another Uchiha out there, then it would be best for the two of them to stick together. As Volley and Sasuke stood eye to eye, they had many questions for one another, wanting to see what they could truly bring out of their Sharingan. As the Chaos Brigade just gained its newest member, maybe the cycle isn't broken after all. This concludes What If Naruto Was in High School DxD the movie, Sins of the Past Part 3, the finale. Thank you to everyone who has supported What If Naruto Was in High School DxD the series. It truly means a lot. And as always, if you want to see more, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcasting that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for next week as we get into What If Deku Was a Power Ranger and we cover Season 3 of My Hero Academia, so I hope you'll stay tuned for that. And we'll get into more What If one-shot episodes as I see you guys are enjoying that series, so we'll have more episodes on that coming out in the near future as well. But as always, thank you for supporting Power Core Productions and Podcastings. That's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington, signing off, and I'll see you next time.